Oh my God, so we were on mute this entire time.
Whole time.
Can you hear us now, Kermit?
No, you're on mute.
Yes.
Wow. Well, should be an interesting YouTube video.
Technology. I'm so sorry. Welcome and sorry.
Oh, good. I'm glad he was here to find out that we weren't.
We just keep moving along. Let's note that Kermit Apio is announced your meeting. Welcome, Kermit.
Thank you, and I apologize for not being here on time.
We got you.
All right. So did you do introductions or were we stumbled by the mute?
Kermit, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Kermit Apio, and anything else I should say?
Have you met Karim?
We actually talked on the phone.
Okay, all right. Then I think we've done introductions.
Okay, good.
Now we're going to move to recap on orientation.
Yeah, I know it's been a month, and I just wondered if there were any questions or other concerns or things you wanted to talk about related to the orientation. There was a lot of information. Oh, thanks.
I think we all felt that way, even those of us who've been around for a little bit longer. You know, one of the things that Carol and I had talked about, but we're going to table that to next meeting, is just a review of the ethics. Just for we had that was originally.
I put it in here. Do you want to wait until next time?
Yeah, because I don't want to run fast, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen the updated version of the minutes agenda. Is it there? Do I need to?
We have comp plan folks coming to talk about how equity is being incorporated into a comp plan, and the review of proclamations and ways, like events and ways we can celebrate DEI-related initiatives throughout the year, and I will have a little update on the consultant selection process for DEI. So that's what we have so far.
So my question is on I know an updated modified agenda was put in today. Is the code of ethics in the modified?
The agenda that was updated today was just this one. I just saw an error because we had public comment listed twice.
Okay, all right. So because on here it doesn't show the code of ethics, so that's fine. We'll hold that till.
I think I just had the code of ethics as part of the recap on the orientation, because you had mentioned that we didn't talk about that.
Well, we can then, all right. It'll be quick. I wasn't intending on it being very long, drawn out, but one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we were looked at was the code of ethics for us as a group. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. We have opportunity to look at it ourselves. This first slide just talks about, financial interest in the city, no personal gain, personal use of city equipment. I think we've seen other cities where, personal use of city equipment has created some angst for people, conflict of interest in decision making, acceptance of gifts, all of those different things. I don't know that that's going to come into play with this group, but who knows how things could develop 2, 3, 4 years from now, as we become more, implanted in the community, and now we try to, as an advisory group, folks may try to influence us. The rules of conduct for code of ethics, says that they're respect, listen, fair debate, disclosure. We all did the training on, OPMA, open process. Let's honor our confidences and be wary of out of order comments. And, those things don't happen as we get to know one another. If we stay as strangers, then anything is possible in the meetings. This is the slide that I found most helpful as far as, since I've been a commissioner, is the operating protocols. No surprise rules, you know. Don't bring anything to the meeting that's not on the agenda as looking for it to be on the agenda, you know, without, you know, talking to the chair or the staff liaison, so that no one's surprised, because if so, no one's going to be able to talk about it because they're not going to have any information. That's stuff that can be brought up during commissioners' corners if it's something that we want to introduce and move forward on. You know, talk to one another, work issues, not people. Vote and move on. You know, work to build your credibility, and agree not to use media for personal gain or make others look bad. Right? It's real simple stuff. It's not a whole lot, but you know, it goes a long way.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is part of our municipal code, the Code of Ethics, so it's a great addition that I will incorporate into the orientation.
To honor confidence, does that mean keep confidential things confidential, or does it have another meaning?
I don't think it means, there's very few things that will be confidential on a commission, and with council, sometimes they would go into an executive session for certain things that do have to be confidential, like legal matters or personnel issues or something like that. So I think in context of council, that would be a good example, but also I think just, can't think of another way that would be described, but, yeah.
So, okay.
I guess, like, if you come across something by accident as being part of the commission that shouldn't have been, or, because all of our meetings are public.
I wasn't sure, what honor confidence meant.
Yeah, yeah. And the Code of Ethics applies to the city council and all the boards and commissions.
You know, and I think when I saw that, what I thought of is, you know, as we maybe interact with one another individually, you know, you may have conversation privately that you're not going to have, you know, in the meeting publicly, you know, and which is okay, you know, as long as it's not four of you, you know, but that may happen, and when that happens, just like if I'm talking to her about some things that I'm concerned about, then my expectation is that she'll honor confidence, and likewise. You know, that's what I thought of, you know, when I saw that. You know, not everything is going to be for the meeting that you may have conversation with, you know, and sometimes people come back and tell you some things, you know, from the public, you know, that they don't necessarily want mentioned in the meeting, but they want to give you a heads up about some things, which has happened, you know. May not be informed of unless someone had told you. Okay.
I do, I have a quick question. On that previous slide, the work issues, not people, could you kind of describe exactly what that is?
I think, like if we're having a debate about a certain issue, try not to make it personal and like, sort of, like William and I are on opposite sides of an issue, and I start attacking William personally, or making it about him as opposed to that we disagree about an issue.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for that question. Good question.
I think the trick is work there is a verb, not a noun. An adjective. Work, the issue. One got me too.
All right, National Night Out. And what we wanted to do was kind of, you know, take some time to talk about National Night Out, you know, our role in National Night Out, what we got out of National Night Out, and from that, and with this group, I take a few minutes to probably maybe put up on the board, you know, what does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to each of us? Okay.
Hopefully you all know, but we had these boards posted for people to interact with, and thank you to those of you who participated at the event. So I tried to summarize. You have the picture of the comments we received from folks on the right, and I tried to summarize some themes in the bullet points, but they don't encapsulate absolutely every comment. So is diversity the first one? Yes.
And you know, Vanita was at that board like the whole time. And so when I saw this, I knew we were going to talk about it. You know, maybe why don't you tell us what that was like, because people saw you. You know, I was doing other things and whatever. You know, what was that like, getting those signatures, getting not signatures, but getting folks to write down something? What were some of the things that you took away from that experience?
So people hesitant, they were interested and curious, and then they were like, oh, I don't know about that, and I'm like, well, there's candy. We have candy. If you have anything that you'd like to say, you can say, I don't know. So we had a couple kids write, I don't know. We had a couple of parents pushing their kids to say something, and then we had some really thoughtful, reflection time for folks and some conversation.
What I'd say, being at the candy table, is that when people would come over to get candy, I would say, oh, and we have these boards over here if you'd like to make comment. And if somebody said, oh, I already did it, I was like, oh, thank you so much. You know, I really tried to give them, take some candy. But, or I would send them over and I'd say, well, just go and look at the boards and see if you're, you know. So I thought it was cool that we got actually as many comments as we did, really.
I summarized some, or just have a minute to read? So this one's diversity, and then we have equity, and inclusion.
That's great.
So, yeah, I'd open it up to William to kind of have a conversation amongst us.
You know, and I wondered what to do with this, and so I think what I would like is not about me, but I wonder if maybe we on the board, we can do the same thing that they did, you know, have 3 columns: diversity, equity, and inclusion, and maybe, you know, we each throw a couple of things up there that what we think, you know, those mean to us. You know, and just pop it out.
To these days, does this call,
Sorry?
how much time do we have? How long is?
Listen,
Okay, because I looked at the time, I said it was a 1 hour call, I was like, we don't have time for that, but never mind.
You to be somewhere?
No, it was just about to, because this is my first one.
Okay. Well, the first one was a little bit longer than 2 hours, but you know, we're trying to stay on track here. Okay. So what do you think, guys, gals?
To me, diversity means diversity of thought, diversity of origin, diversity of culture, and that diversity also means enriching to me. I mean, and that enriches our community.
It's on the PowerPoint so that kind of can see it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm going to put it on the screen so that you can see what we're writing.
Origin, culture, enriching.
Enrichment?
Okay. Any other thoughts on diversity? Or, well, let's stick with this slide here since it'll be easier.
It's so awful when everything's the same.
Yes.
So it's like it's the villain in a lot of young adult books is the mirroring. or, like in the Wrinkle in Time series, is the bad guy, that they're trying to solve and stop, is that all of the kids play and they're bouncing the ball. And this is the dystopia, is they're outside, they're bouncing a ball, and they're all bouncing at exactly the same space and timing, and then one kid drops it and it flies away. And so, like, it's just, we're all the same. Diversity is not all the same.
Right?
Is interesting? Is that what you're, like, the opposite of what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Oh, you know, when I was thinking of diversity, you know, one of the things that popped in my head was, you know, because I was just trying to keep it simple, you know, look at me. That's what look at me, you know. And that's when I think of diversity.
Did you see that there was one person who wrote on the diversity thing, me?
Was that you?
Yeah. Was it?
I didn't write on the board at all. No,
That was great. I thought it probably would be a kid, but I thought that was great.
Anything, you know, anybody else?
Source of celebration. And it goes with words, though.
You can chime in on the other words too if you want. I have other slides ready.
Well, I'll go quickly on diversity. Individuality. Our city is a collection of individuals, and I love that. Is that when I see people of all different types of races and everything, and I just see a lot of individuals living together, and I love that part of it.
A couple of words that I thought of that I had put in all three categories. One was housing, the other one was healthcare, and education. You know,
Like a diversity of housing, healthcare, and education.
you know, and I also had it in there for equity, and I also had it in this.
Add more if you want, or we can move on to another place.
Yeah, let's move on. Everybody in agreement with that? Okay.
One word I think about for equity and inclusion is equal access.
Inclusion, I think, we're all individuals, but like we're a tapestry coming together. So the inclusion is bringing us all into a community together.
No, how do I fit that in there?
I would say abandoning all prejudices.
To me, inclusion is that whatever I do in our city, that someone else feels comfortable doing the exact same thing. You know, that I don't know how else to put it, but just that we all sort of feel like we can go to the same places, do the same things, and not have to worry about anything that I don't have to worry about, anything that my neighbor doesn't have to worry about. I shouldn't have to worry about in that sense.
Making space for everyone to belong.
we allowing voices to be heard.
Yes.
Right on equity.
I would say caring for people in general and defending the ones who cannot defend themselves.
I would, again, when I think of equity in opportunity for housing, equity for opportunity for equal education. I think of equity in healthcare, things that are not equal.
Equity doesn't necessarily equal equality. To receive or to participate, not everyone needs the same thing.
Wow.
Having the resources available,
Yes. Yes.
the gap.
Well, understanding that equal access doesn't mean the same thing for everybody.
Which is why equity and inclusion go hand in hand together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, okay, I gave it to you, but I'm not gonna let you use it.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I gave it to you, but you don't have the tools to use it.
Right.
Because I haven't let you have the tools,
Yep.
or I've blocked your access in some way, yeah.
It reminds me always of like people saying, just apply for a job. Yeah, but maybe that person doesn't have internet.
Or, come into my shop, but the person, it's not wheelchair accessible, or,
There's some really good memes for that.
Yeah.
Memes for that.
Yeah.
Got two skates, but they have 8 arms.
Barriers to access. Good way to summarize it.
Again, that applies to inclusion too, because if people don't have ways to access things, in their personal situation, if there's only one way to access it and that doesn't offer it for other people, then they can't be included, so.
Okay. Now, my thought process is there's some great stuff that we've got from the board, some great recap, some excellent things here that we've come up with, and I think that, we need to, and we don't have to do that today, but, we need to ask ourselves the question, so what, right? And we have to build on, as we are learning and we're working on a comprehensive plan, and as we're working on, different things that maybe we want to do with other DEI groups or things for the city, or maybe projects that we want to take on, how do we take this thought process that we just went through and the time that people spent to give us this information and do something actionable with it? And that's really the purpose of this exercise. So, if we need to take a couple more minutes to talk about that, we can.
I could just add, I think we'll have a lot more opportunity to dive in more on this issue this fall, both with a couple topics we'll talk about tonight, but one is we're going to be hiring a consultant to do some training and help us work together to develop a DEI strategic plan for the city. And then with the comprehensive plan, like we mentioned, there'll be several opportunities to work with the consultant team on identifying key policies for the city that are related to equity. And so I think over the next few months, just be thinking about and maybe talking to your community members about, like, what are the barriers that people are, either perceive or have with, city services in particular, like the things that we can control as a city. Education is not within the city, but it is obviously very important to, I know, I'm looking at Benita because she's very involved in the education, but, obviously there's ways we can influence that, yeah.
This is actually perfect timing because we have a neighborhood party on Saturday in my neighborhood. Maybe I can ask specific questions to collect data from my neighborhood. What kind of questions would you suggest that I ask? Like, rather than just what kind of barriers do you see? Any suggestions? Like, you can also email me after this call. We don't have to use this meeting for it. But
I mean, even just what's your experience with, like, say, for instance, city services? Have you had experience with city services? Have you found it easy to access? Are there barriers that you see? Do you feel like you've been treated equitably?
It's also just like, what's your experience as a community member? As somebody mentioned here, I think Kermit, you mentioned, can someone else in the community do all the things that I feel comfortable doing? Do you feel comfortable in your community? Do you feel people might not even really understand what it means to stay in city services, so just be thinking about, like, but if you can think about that presentation I gave you about, like, what it is we do, you know, is it paying their water bill? Is it interactions with police? Is it I called and complained about something was broken in my neighborhood and no one wanted to listen to me, or, you know, whatever that might be.
I remember one of the first things I did as a commissioner, I asked another resident, because they were getting like so many hits on Facebook. I said, could you do this for me? Can you just ask the city, how do they feel about NLT police? Do they feel safe? Yada, yada, yada. And within like a few hours, he had like about 272 responses, you know, and it covered the spectrum, but it got the answers that I was looking for, you know, talking about city services. You know, he broke it down, kept it simple, and, you know, people gave their experiences, some good, not so good, some great, you know, but it was, and I shared it with the chief, you know, and it was really cool.
And the other thing, for those of you who are new, on our website, there's a survey that you could encourage people to take for the DEI Commission. And we don't have that many responses. We haven't really pushed it.
Also, sorry if I'm asking questions where the answer is obvious.
No, there's nothing obvious.
No, sometimes it is.
So on our commission page, if you scroll to the bottom, oh there, right there, DEI survey. So if you're going to engage with a bunch of people, we could, I don't know if we can do a QR code to this thing or what.
Ooh, there's a survey, yeah.
I have to like read some of that.
But it does ask about barriers, groups and communities that feel overlooked.
Who receives these surveys once they're submitted? Is it you?
Sorry?
No.
Once something is submitted, who receives the survey results?
Goes to the city hall email that I monitor, and then I forward to.
Okay.
And it will just come in, it says online submission DEI survey, and then I can just forward.
And it's anonymous, right?
History of where those came from. Early in 2021, well, I believe it might have been February or March, we had a town hall meeting with the city. It was a like the city does the coffee with the city type of deal, where you know, we had some free questions put out there for folks, you know, and had an opportunity, you know, so people had an opportunity to see some of the questions. They could see the questions, and that's how that came about. You know, we had the survey. I think the survey might have been, you know, we the responses that we got from that, helped us build survey questions. And some of the conversation and the advice people gave us as to, well, this is what you need to ask about, this is what you should find out about, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Good?
So,
Yes.
all right. So the city council allocated $60,000 over 2 years for us to work on DEI strategic initiatives together. I went before the city council recently and asked for them to give feedback on a scope of work, which basically included training and funding to work on an a DEI strategic plan. And they were on board with that. So right now, there's 2 requests for proposals on the street, and the proposals are due on Monday, and I've been in communication with several consultants. I'm hoping we'll get at least a handful of proposals. So we divided it into 2 different proposals, one for training and one for planning, but people could propose on both if their firm did that. But I was finding that some people were more focused on one or the other. So hoping in September, like I said, to give you an update on that, and that I also really hope that we'll start that work this fall. So some consultants prefer to start with training and some prefer to start with planning, so we'll just kind of see what they have to say and work towards.
What criteria are we using to pick the consultant?
Great question. Experience working in these fields, either the planning or the training DEI fields, working with governmental agencies preferably, but nonprofit work would also be acceptable, but basically that experience working with a board or commission in a public setting. So it's a different world, when you're working from a private sector and a public sector, because we have elected officials to report to and the community to engage and things like that. So, so there's experience, there's professional qualifications of the individuals who would be on the team, their methodology and approach, and there's a list of things.
The decision maker for picking the consultant, is that the city?
Yeah, we have a handful of staff who are from different departments, so we'll be reviewing. So the training, there's $60,000 doesn't go as far as you think it might. So we sort of have like a primary task and then an optional task. So depending how much they charge, maybe we can negotiate more, or at least in the future we know what the cost will be and we can ask City Council for more money. But our first priority is to train about 40 people, and that would include you, the City Council, and some key staff who would be working on these projects with you. But ideally we want all of the boards and commissions and staff trained. So that could take a while. So, we might have time to go back and get more funding from council and extend the training. And then the planning work is kind of an iterative process that hopefully would be on the tail end of us working with the comprehensive plan group on the policies, because policies are sort of that higher level, like what are the city goals for DEI? And then the strategic plan is more like the implementation plan. So what are the very specific things that we're going to do in the next 2 to 5 years to accomplish those policies? Any questions about that, Kermit or anyone?
I'd just like to point out that, the idea of getting as many people trained versus a minimum of just us, makes a lot of sense, because as an advisory group, the more everyone knows, the easier it is for others to be willing to listen to whatever it is that we're advising them on. So if we're the only ones that are trained, which is what the original thought process was when we first started talking about this, then all that does is puts us in a position where now we've got to somehow or another be able to articulate, what we have learned and what we think to a group that hasn't even been trained, So that's just like climbing up Niagara Falls, and so the more people that we can train, and we know that training is needed just by recent events, that it's only going to be a plus, and it's got to be looked up as a process and not a program. And the reason being is because it's going to change. People change. People are going to come and go. So there's got to be a process in place to make sure going forward, once a quarter is done, that is part of the normal form of doing business here in Mountlake Terrace.
We don't want all of our time taken up trying to teach other people stuff. I mean, if we can't accomplish things if we're always trying to get other people up to speed.
And just to piggyback on this conversation, I wanted to let you know a couple other things. One, we just recently joined the Government Alliance for Racial Equity, which is a national organization that helps government navigate through these kinds of processes. And they have a wealth of resources on their website and training opportunities. So just got the letter this week. We don't have access to the internal website yet. So as I get more information about the opportunities, I will definitely share those with you.
That's called the Government Alliance of
Racial Equity, so GARE, G-A-R-E.
Oh, GARE, yeah. Uh-huh.
And then also I've been meeting with some staff who do DEI work for other cities, have been really connected with SUNY from Shoreline for a long time, and recently met with Doug and Linwood, who manages their DEI program, and Annie up in Snohomish County. I'm sure there's other folks in the county I haven't quite met yet, but there is a great ball of energy in that small group already about just sharing resources and thinking about how we can collaborate together. And SUNY, if you haven't heard already, Shoreline City Council adopted a very strong anti-racism resolution and uses those words in their common language. It's incorporated into their job descriptions, all their policy documents about being an anti-racist city. Very strong language, which is great. And they also have been doing training with the People's Institute of Survival, which is a national organization that does anti-racism work. And in the past, they've been opening any empty seats they have where they haven't found Shoreline residents to fit in to other cities. And so there's another opportunity coming up in October. It's 2 days, usually on a weekend. So as soon as I get the information and I know that there's any empty seats, I will let you know as priority if you're interested in attending. I've been 3 times. It's worth going every single time. And what I really appreciate about that training is a description of institutional racism and really understanding how one agency on top of another agency and one process after another process creates one barrier after another barrier for people, and like how do we think about staff and government officials do things differently. So
SUNY sends out emails regularly for their events. Do we have something like that yet?
he sends out emails to the community. Oh,
I met her at a Bosnian event years ago, so
yeah. Not yet. I have to decide on.
There was just a question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's a great role model. So, move on. We need to elect.
Right. So, we will start with the chair. And what we do is, every year, the chair, there's an election for the chair, co-chair. That usually happens in July and August. And so now my term is up as chair. And this opportunity, if anyone is interested in being, and we'll start with the chair and then we'll go to the co-chair. Being the chair, this is the opportunity now to put a motion on the floor to nominate anyone for the chair. So the question I was going to ask is, Carolyn, is there anyone that's interested in being the chair?
Before you ask that question, the chair's responsibility is basically being the conductor, right?
Not the boss.
Okay,
Not the boss. It's a round table.
Excuse my ignorance, like,
Yep.
sorry, I'm not trying to be nitpicky.
That's all right, you're just trying to understand. Sure.
Yeah, facilitate the meetings, and, I'm open, we haven't, like, said that we're gonna do it formally, but I've been trying to, like, meet with William before the meeting and just walk through the agenda and make sure that we've covered things that we think the commission wants to talk about, as well as what's going on with staff.
The term is 2 years? Yeah, it's.
First one.
No, it's 1 year.
And is it chair and vice chair, or chair and co-chair?
And we've been,
Sorry, I interrupted you when you asked
No,
Carolyn.
the question on the table is, I'll tell you, I'm interested in continuing to be chair. But the question is there anyone else interested in being chair? And it doesn't matter that you're new, because you gotta remember something. When the first chair was picked, they were new. All right? They were new. They were newer than new. All right? They didn't even get what you guys got, the last month.
well, if there's no other person interested in chair, is anyone, willing to make a motion to nominate William?
I'll make a motion to nominate William.
So we have a first by Commissioner Courtney and a second by Commissioner Appia. And, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Does this vote count too, right? He can vote for himself.
Yeah, I can vote for myself.
You just said no.
He screamed at me.
Oh, man. Thank you.
So is this, a motion to nominate or a motion to elect? Is it formal now?
I think we nominated, we have used the wrong language.
So let me just do that. I move that Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission elected chair and vice chair, oh, never mind. I'm reading the wrong one. Get out of here, man.
Okay.
We do have to make this motion too, but, because we haven't formally, we probably should have done that first. Why don't we do that motion, and then we'll re-elect William?
He's been nominated. He's
been nominated, now he has to be elected, yes.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a motion on the floor to elect William Page as chair?
I think we need to do that first. So I move that the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission elect a chair and a vice chair annually, and that they have a term limit of 1 year.
Isn't that part of the,
It's not part of our work.
Yes, that's why we need to do that first.
okay.
Okay, so, all right, that was my, okay, I
All right,
second that.
That's okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right.
And now, is there a motion
I
to,
move that we elect William Page as chair.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? No opposed. Okay. All right. Now, let's move on to the vice chair.
Who is it now? So we can just keep that person.
We have a vice chair.
We don't have a vice chair. It's a vacancy.
This person's the backup, right?
Yeah.
backup meeting runner and et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, sorry.
Are you interested?
Can I nominate myself?
You can express your interest.
Okay, I expressed my interest in being the vice chair.
Are there any others that have an interest in being the vice chair?
But I'm happy to not.
I move that we nominate Karim Onat as, vice chair.
I think, Commissioner Francisco also wants to nominate.
I second.
And
Put that to bed.
move the second that we
Nominate.
nominate Karim for, vice chair. Okay.
Is there any other nominations?
Are there any other nominations?
You don't, no.
Okay. So Karim has been moved and seconded for Karim to be, vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? It's been moved and seconded and it's been approved that Karim Onat will now be the vice chair of the Mountlake Terrace Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. Congratulations. All right. Okay.
So we are missing.
Can't back out now.
I know, dude. I know, dude. We're gonna hit that button right underneath the table.
Look at the website, so we have Scott Matsuda who's missing for the meeting. There's also basic position listed.
Right.
The website is still accurate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So does this affect, because if that vacant position gets filled up, do we need to do
No,
re-election?
no, because all we need is a quorum to get anything done.
Okay, thank you.
And that's four.
Four.
Quorum is four. All right, so now we're going to, the council is not here, so we will move on to the staff report. I know you've given us some things. Do you have anything else for us?
Did you want to do commissioners' report?
Okay, yeah, we move on to, okay, commissioners and chairs report. So, this is opportunity for any of you commissioners to bring up anything that you've been involved in, any concerns you have, things that you want us to consider, to think about, talk about, going forward. So we just go around the room. It's not to put anybody on the spot. If you don't have anything, just say I don't have anything, but I am gonna ask everybody, if they have anything, okay? So I'll start with you, Kermit.
I do not have anything.
Okay. How about you, Vanita?
I would like to share that the Washington Family Engagement is hosting their semi-annual conference class. It's about Parent Leader Training Institute, and so it is bringing information about government and individuals and how people are raised and view community. And so it's a really cool program. It's free. It's Thursdays and Saturdays beginning in September. I can share the flyer. But it's a really cool program. And Steve Woodard is one of the speakers. He came to one of our classes and talked when I was going through it. And so that's coming up. And I was able to help the League of Women Voters send out ballot correction postcards. So that was fun.
Great. Anything else between last meeting?
Well, I was at National Night Out and.
There you go. Okay, all right.
I mean, I saw you all though.
Yeah, but they didn't,
Yeah.
right?
And then some others.
Okay. Okay. All right, Teresa.
And I was also at National Night Out, and I really enjoyed it because, I'm new to the city, and so it was a way for me to kind of talk to a lot of people. And also, another group I'm involved with, the Concern for Neighbors Food Bank was there. I got to see some of those folks, and also my daughter-in-law's mother was with Campfire. So, but I did really enjoy that. And then Concern for Neighbors Food Bank, where I volunteer, I did share with Carla, the director, that I'm on the commission, and she shared with me that at the food bank, the major languages that are spoken there are, besides Mexican, or Spanish and English, is, Arabic and, Russian, Ukrainian. And so that's kind of a little bit of a view of, the populations that use that food bank. But if we, I think I'd love to come talk to us about how they serve these different communities, if we ever thought that was interesting. So, she'd be willing to do that. So she was super excited. And I'm on the commission. So, anyway, and, that's pretty much for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Karim? You got anything you want to share with us?
No.
Okay. And,
Writing his acceptance speech.
I'm planning for Saturday's neighborhood event.
Just a few things. At our last meeting, Aaron talked about the snow code, Snohomish County Creating Opportunities Diversity Equity Group with the Economic Alliance. Snohomish County was working on putting together a BIPOC Chamber of Commerce, and so that was on July 27th. So I attended that meeting to get some information, about it and whatever, and I can. They CC'd you on the summary of the email, but we can get that out to everybody so you can excuse me, see just what was discussed and what are they doing going forward as a group. On July 29th, I went and attended Nubian Jam around the Everett at Forest Park. As you know, we were partners where we helped sponsor that event, and that was a good time. One of the things that I saw that was really interesting while I was there, with a lot of interesting stuff. One of the things I thought that was very interesting there was that the Everett Police Department, had a very active booth, and what they were doing was they were talking to folks in the community, which was mostly, BIPOC, about job opportunities with the Everett Police, and that booth had probably one of the biggest lines of folks, there. And so I talked to the chief about that. As I know they did that, he did it National Night Out. I said, you had a bigger diversity group here at Terrace than you had at National Night Out. So that's an opportunity next year to think about, because, so that was a good deal. And we did the National Night Out, and that was, that was an experience. I was a popcorn guy for a little while. If you do popcorn at National Night Out, you are always going to be behind the 8 ball. Just want you to know that. Yeah. Popcorn don't pop fast enough. Again, we got the September 16th through 18th voter registration. One of the things that we worked on, started, I want to say before August of last year, were the welcoming signs in the city. I know Vanita was really instrumental in the pavilion. We've got the welcoming signs now all posted in the police department, as well as City Hall in the pavilion, and we got some pictures, with some of the key people there, and we sent them to Ricky. But that was a nice step. That was like a nice win for us, because it's important, I think, and that's that first step to telling people equity, inclusion, making them feel welcome, I think. So, and we also learned something. I learned something that we was taking a picture at the pavilion, and me and Jeff, and so we needed somebody to take the picture. So we just grabbed a random person that just happened to be sitting there waiting for their kid. And the person came and stood in front with the camera, get ready to take the picture. And he said, once again, Turkish people are being discriminated against. And we looked at, what are you talking about? And then he explained to us how, the Turkish language is one that's is not a sign. We're thinking, well, there's a lot of languages that are. But then he gave us a history of how, Turkish language gets dismissed throughout the world, because of all things that, battles and the wars and the changing of the boundaries and stuff like that. And so it was very interesting. information, because you don't think about that. You know, you can't get all the languages. I know when we lived in New Hampshire, my wife lived in Manchester, New Hampshire, the high school had 127 spoken languages, you know. So that's what I was thinking about until he started explaining some other things. So it's always an opportunity to get some education. He just asked, and I'm willing to listen, because we didn't say a word. We just listened, and that worked. And the only other thing that I have that I'd like to point out is that if we don't look, we won't learn. You know, if we don't listen, we won't hear. And so, you know, I know Laura is going to ask our help to get information out about the trees. You know, the comprehensive plan and all and all the other different things that we're going to try to do. And we all have platforms where we have people who listen to us. And, you know, we don't have to get on there and say, hey, I'm the DEI commissioner, do this. But if you just, like the other day, I posted the information about our meeting. I just posted our meeting, you know, on a couple of sites. And someone sent a text message, you know, before we started, said I can't get on because something's going on. So they read it, and there's some likes in there. So I don't do Instagram and not TikTok or whatever that stuff, but, you know, I have at least one platform, and I know folks see it and things like that. You all have different platforms and different ways in which you communicate with people. As if we see anytime I see a jobs posted in the city, I post it. You know, I go to a different site and I post it. The group, I post it, because it's an opportunity for a non-traditional person who probably won't look at the Mountlake Terrace City webpage, but going to see it on that platform for a particular job. You know, so those little things that we can do to kind of bridge that gap with, you know, equity and inclusion, because the diversity is already there, you know, but we gotta get creative and, you know, be a presence. You know, just be a presence, okay? And oh, I'm sorry, Kermit. No, I asked him first. Yeah, never mind. yeah, I asked him first. Let me see. I think we have reached, because we don't. Staff report. Yeah, there we go.
Two things on the staff report. We have this proclamation that council has delivered in the past in September, and those of you in the room have a handout, and I have it on the screen here. I think it's attached. Did we attach this to the website? Okay. So I have it on the screen for you, Kermit, and it's 2 pages, so let me know if you need me to switch screens. So my ask of you tonight is, 1, do you have any suggested edits to the proclamation? And 2, is there someone in the community that you would like to recommend that council give this proclamation to, who is of Hispanic or Latino origins or heritage? It was a really good way to make us all read it. Do you want me to go to the next slide so you can read the rest?
Hold on, I need just a second.
Okay.
Everybody else is reading. May I ask how this came into being? Like, did someone request this, or is this a recurring thing that the city does?
So it is a recurring thing that the city does. There's a little history in here that in 1968, President Lyndon Johnson started doing proclamations, and then once the federal government does it, then states and cities and so forth tend to do it. I don't know the exact origin here, but it's been going on for a little bit. And we can modify these to be more personal. Sometimes cities will provide that context of like how this started and of course why it's important. But we can add more whereases if there's some specific things we want to share about our very specific Mountlake Terrace Hispanic and Latino community, or initiatives that are going on in the community.
My question was the intention of my question was mostly, if there are some communities in Mountlake Terrace that are not recognized, how do we get them recognized?
Next meeting, we're gonna talk
Oh,
about.
well, never mind.
I'll bring
Us or the council?
here, I'll bring a broad list, but certainly I might not have everything on it, so if there's things you're thinking about.
Yes, because in December, I did email the city, and I was told that special interest groups do not qualify, but I think I used the wrong term, special interest group. I think it sounds like lobbying.
I do know there have been some boundaries, but usually you can just submit it through this commission to Carolyn, and then it's something that is discussed and.
So my idea was that we would talk through like what proclamations we'd like council to consider. And we need to be careful about the number of them because they have other proclamations too, so there's a balance. But, and then I would bring that to them and say, these are some recommendations from the DEIC about proclamations that relate to cultural and ethnic communities and celebrations.
We'll wait for the
Well,
next.
you know, one thing that maybe you can do for us, you know, we put one together, had a list, I think, for like 20, you know, if you can pull, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a smorgasbord of proclamation opportunities, but I know that there are several companies or whatever that list, you know, various dates for, you know, if we can, you know, because what that did, I think, for us is just help jog. It can help jog some, or, you know, we may see something that we may not be that aware of that group, but we know that group is represented here in the city because a lot of these proclamations are for the big dogs, you know, February, and, you know, 5th of September, and, you know, Ramadan, you know, but some of the little ones never, ever, but we got that representation here in the city, you know, so, you know, that would help maybe get us educated.
Yeah, I'll definitely bring you a list of something to start with, but, yeah.
And just so that y'all know, since everybody here is new, except for Bonita, what we did last year was we took this proclamation because it was like the next time around, and we, as a commission, paired up with the council, and we identified, I want to say, 8 or 9 businesses, Hispanic businesses here in the city, and we took a proclamation, put it in a frame. It was a wooden frame, nice frame, and we personally visited each one of those businesses at their businesses with their owners and presented them with the proclamation and that opportunity to chat with them a little bit, you know, about, you know, why the city was doing it and how important, from a personal standpoint, we thought the businesses was, you know, to the city. You know, so it was something a little different out of the box.
I don't have any recommended changes, but I do have one person in mind, but I need to check with that person.
Okay, yeah, just email me, yeah.
We elect them.
I was trying to figure out, like, does the city need to reach out to that person, or do I need to? I'm just trying to make sure everything is appropriate.
I mean, it could go either, I guess, like, let's see if there's anyone else who has folks, and then we can talk a little bit further about the process. Yeah.
Mountlake Terrace High School has a Latinx, and that might be a nice.
Okay.
Can you have more than one?
It can't be given to the club, or does it have to be one person?
No, it could be two. Yeah.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
The students, can't remember the acronym anymore. The GSA club at the high school came and received the June proclamation for Pride Month.
Right.
Right, yeah, that's right, they did, yep.
The acronym changed, and then I don't know.
It's process.
Like, do you want to describe who the person, like,
But
even,
if we can give it to a club, I would throw my suggestion for my person, like, for the person I have in mind.
Okay.
But the person I have in mind was like half Mexican, a friend of mine. That's the only Hispanic person I know in Mountlake, Terrace.
do you have any thoughts?
No.
No. Since we're doing this, I think that, you know, our past commissioner, Alvaro Gillian, you know, our website, everything that's pretty much on our website, probably 80% of it is everything on our website. He created, all the contacts, all the, you know, all the stuff that, you know, the links, you know, for, you know, people to go to and do, and, you know, none of that was anywhere in the city, you know, and he's the one who did that, you know, and, you know, and when the city during COVID had the grant availability, you know, for small businesses, he went to every minority business by foot in the city to let them know about it, and he found out that 0% knew about the grant, you know, and tried to get them, you know, set up so that if they wanted to take advantage of it. So, you know, he would be, you know, I think, you know, and he's the one who last year read the proclamation, knowing that we were going to, you know, he had already, you know, left the commission at that point, you know, because he didn't re-up. But, you know, he's the one who actually read the proclamation that day in the city council, and it'd be nice to recognize him.
What's his name again?
Alvaro Gillian, Guillen.
That from the group?
I don't have a very strong feeling about this, but I think when it comes to feeling recognized for the diversity and heritage-wise, might be more of a long-term investment if we show that to younger generation. So if there's like a school club, like Commissioner Francisco mentioned, might be more long-term. Just a thought. No strong feeling.
I think it'd be nice to honor somebody who's done a lot of work already for the city.
But I also see your point about the younger generation too. Can you only recognize one?
I don't know what the city's practice has been.
9 last year.
Oh,
So, I mean, we gave out 9 proclamations.
to the different businesses.
Yeah. We handed each one a printout. So I don't.
that's what I was saying, I think you can have more than one recipient.
Yeah, we gave 9 out, you know.
Well, I'm sorry for
It's get expensive, but a few.
And it also sort of weakens it if it doesn't sort of,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Then I think the 2 options would be really nice to have.
Sort of like an individual and a group.
So do we have consensus on both the Mountlake Terrace Latinx Club and Alvaro? I didn't write it down.
Alvaro Gillian.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, can I get a motion on the floor that we recommend to the city council that the 2 proclamations to those whom we've just mentioned?
Like I say, I motion.
You can put the motion on the floor?
I put a motion on.
Okay. All right. All right, it's been motioned and second that, you know, we recommend to the council about these 2 proclamations for Hispanic Heritage Month. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right.
And one other update, with the comprehensive plan, a couple of you volunteered to be on the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, and I thank you, Teresa, for volunteering, and Scott Matsuda also volunteered, and he was selected by the council, but really appreciate you also volunteering. They're trying to So a couple other positions that are specific to like a certain group, and one of the ones that I was hoping, you might have some recommendations for are, especially Benita, having, connections into the schools. They are interested in having someone who lives in Mountlake Terrace, who's involved in the school district. It could be a teacher, it could be faculty, it could be,
Okay, so I thought teachers their contract doesn't start until August, 30th. Being in their vacation.
yeah.
And that was, so I talked about the comprehensive plan during the tour de Terrace and the National Night Out.
Yeah.
And wanting student involvement, and it's tricky until school starts.
We have a student.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
We do have a student who's,
Excellent.
Yeah.
okay. But they're looking for someone who could maybe, speak to sort of the growth in the student body and the, you know, like the issues related between the comprehensive plan and the school district. So more of an adult who's a faculty or PTA member or someone who
And how much
understands.
the commitment?
It is, if I recall, 8 or 9 meetings, once a month.
Once a month.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have?
The teacher needs to not only live in the city, but also be in this school district.
Yes.
Edmond School. And Linwood has its own school district, right?
No, Linwood's part of,
Linwood, Woodway, Edmonds, Briar, and Mountlake Terrace and unincorporated Snohomish County are all part of Edmonds School District. We use that.
Because I know one person who's a teacher in Linwood. And you said Briar too, right?
It's a school district, yeah.
Oh, but they have to live in Mountlake.
But yeah, I know,
Okay.
3 in the city limits.
Okay, awesome.
Well, 2 teachers and a para, so.
come on, you know everybody, we went through the parade, everybody knew Bonita.
Yes.
Live and work in Mountlake Terrace, yeah.
So they have to be allocated when.
Did you have a thought? Did you have any, I'm sorry, did you try to say something?
Oh, no, I was
No.
just laughing at what William said.
All right. Well, yeah, if you have any thoughts in the next, week or so, it'd be great. We're just trying to, I think the first meeting, if I'm not mistaken, was the end of September. Is that what your recollection is, Jennifer?
Yeah, it wasn't like September 28th or something like that?
And then there's gonna be a joint meeting the week after for,
September 20th, right?
anyway, I'll get that date. I can get you that date.
But for some reason I blocked 20th on my calendar.
For this meeting,
For
you're
No,
not,
they're talking about for the comprehensive planning.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just calling.
That's all I have for that report, so, thank you.
All right. Then, the last thing before we adjourn is, agenda considerations. Any recommendations?
want to, move to excuse Matsuda.
Oh, okay, yes. Matt wasn't able to be here because of the change of the meeting, so if I can get a motion to, excuse Matt from today's meeting. Scott, what did I just say? Well, that's because I'm looking at this thing from Matt Porter. All right,
Commissioner Matsuda, yeah.
Commissioner, Scott Masuda. Means that he couldn't make it to the meeting, so we have to officially excuse him from the meeting so that he's not in absentia without anybody knowing about it, because I think typically he gave notice.
Oh,
Okay.
You have 2 unexcused.
Right. Yeah.
oh, and then, I see, that's what it is.
Okay.
I see.
I move
Thank you, that was,
Okay. All right. So it's been moved. Can I get a second? All right. Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you for reminding me of that. If I may, you'll be getting an email from from Carol. I'm gonna forward it to you about cops and clergy. Okay, that's something that myself and Rohit have been involved in as representatives of DEI. And so I'll let her send it out to you because the meeting's changed. It's not going to be one in September, it'll be one in October. But we made, you know, it kind of affects the last few meetings I haven't been able to go just because of work. But it might be something that somebody else on the commission might want to be involved in, you know, cops and clergy. Okay. With that, now, like I said, real quickly, agenda considerations for the next meeting.
The schools are talking about doing quadrant-based cultural celebration nights, and so I hope to have information to share if that's happening and where it might be and when at the next meeting.
Okay, and one of the things that I would like, if it's available to you, is what would they like from us? Okay, so that we can have conversation about that and whatever. 'Cause I think that'd be definitely a worthwhile event, you know, for us to be represented at. No doubt about it.
Is that something we participated in the past?
We were invited, but it was new. And then I'm also, as part of that, I'll be meeting with Dr. Guzman with the school district, and she hosted some events at the library, and so they were, the commission participated, and the council did too, for a couple of their events last year. I meet with her. I'll ask if she has those dates yet.
Okay. And that was fun with the kids. You know, we were reading, and they had a whole bunch of other stuff going on, so that was real cool. Yeah. If you do participate in the League of Voters thing, you know, let's be ready to kind of talk about that experience, you know, so that we can learn from that, and others can hopefully see what we talked about, look at that see our video, and maybe get out there and vote or register to vote, you know, because of our involvement. Okay. And if you get the opportunity, talk to folks. We do need a 7th commissioner. So, you know, whatever, you know, way you want to do it, you know, just let folks know this is what we're doing. You know, if it's important to you, maybe you know somebody that might be important to, and, you know, send them the link on how to look at what they need to do to at least apply, you know, see if they can get appointed, so that it just doesn't sit out there, you know, in the middle of the ocean and nobody's talking about it. Okay? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sorry, I forgot the phrase. I put motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. Is that?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I moved to adjourn the meeting.
Need a second?
I second.
All right, moved and seconded. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Did he give you a copy of the rules, Robert Rules Order?
Well, actually, there was a training.